The massive Zephyrian ship cut through space like a silver knife. Commander Vexhai stood on the bridge, his four arms crossed as he watched the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His purple skin showed the excitement patterns that all Zephyrians displayed when finding new worlds. "Third planet in the system, Commander," reported his science officer Kalanis. "Oxygen atmosphere, liquid water, and signs of intelligent life." Vexhai nodded. This was routine for them. The Zephyrian Empire had found hundreds of primitive worlds over the past 1,000 years. Each time was the same: land, make contact, show the natives some advanced technology and watch them fall to their knees in worship. Then came the easy part: trade agreements, resource extraction, and adding another world to their growing empire. "What level of development?" Vexhai asked. "Very early space age," Kalanis replied, checking her instruments. "They use chemical rockets, some basic satellites, nuclear weapons, but only fission-based. Classic Level 2 civilization." Perfect, Vexhai thought. Level 2 civilizations were ideal. Smart enough to be useful workers, but too primitive to cause trouble. They would be amazed by Zephyrian technology and eager to trade their planet's resources for a few energy weapons and medical supplies. "Any previous contact logged in the database?" he asked. Kalanis checked the galactic records. "No, sir. This system shows no prior contact. The planet is listed as uninhabited in our star charts." That was strange. The Zephyrian Empire kept detailed records going back 50,000 years. If intelligent life had existed here before, they would know about it. But sometimes, primitive species developed quickly. Maybe these humans had only recently discovered fire and tools. "Take us into orbit," Vexhai ordered. "Standard first contact protocol." The ship moved gracefully toward Earth. Through the viewports, Vexhai could see lights on the dark side of the planet. Cities, probably. Primitive ones, but cities nonetheless. The humans had at least learned to work together in large groups. That was good. It meant they could be organized and controlled more easily. Their communications officer, Toxran, suddenly looked up from his station. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission." "From the planet?" Vexhai was surprised. Most primitive worlds couldn't detect their ships until they chose to reveal themselves. "Yes, sir, it's in their local language, but our computers are translating it." Toxran paused. "They're welcoming us." Welcoming them? That was unusual. Most species either ran in terror or attacked with whatever primitive weapons they had. Vexhai had never encountered a species that welcomed aliens on first contact. "Put it through," he ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a human face. The being had pale skin, dark hair, and only 2 eyes. She wore some kind of uniform and sat in what looked like a control room. "Greetings, Zephyrian vessel," the human said calmly. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking for the Earth Coalition. We've been expecting you." Expecting them? Vexhai felt his excitement patterns shift to confusion. How could they have been expecting them? No one knew the Zephyrians were coming except the Zephyrians themselves. "I am Commander Vexhai of the Zephyrian Empire," he replied carefully. "How did you know we were coming?" Dr. Chen smiled. It was an odd expression that showed her teeth, but somehow it didn't seem threatening. "Our deep space sensors detected your approach 3 days ago. We've been tracking your ship since you entered our solar system." "Deep space sensors?" Vexhai looked at Kalanis, who was frantically checking her instruments. Level 2 civilizations weren't supposed to have sensors that advanced. "Perhaps there's been some mistake," Vexhai said. "Our records show this world has had no previous contact with galactic civilization." "Your records may be incomplete," Dr. Chen replied. "We're very much looking forward to rejoining the galactic community. It's been far too long." Rejoining? Vexhai felt a chill run through his scales. This human was talking as if her people had been part of galactic civilization before, but that was impossible. The galactic databases would have recorded any previous contact. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, "perhaps we could meet in person to discuss this situation." "Of course," she replied. "We have a landing facility prepared." For you, I'll transmit the coordinates, and Commander, welcome back to Earth. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Welcome back? What did she mean by that? Sir, Kalanis said quietly, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. These aren't level 2 readings. Vexhai moved to her station and looked at the displays. His eyes widened. The energy patterns were unlike anything he'd seen from a primitive world. Some of the readings were beyond what even Zephyrian technology could produce. Could their sensors be malfunctioning? He asked. I've run 3 diagnostics, Kalanis replied. All systems are working perfectly. Commander, some of these energy signatures are coming from underground. Deep underground. Toxran looked up from his communications console. Sir, I'm also picking up some strange transmissions. They're using quantum encryption methods that are, well, they're more advanced than ours. This was becoming very unusual. Vexhai had conducted first contact with over 30 species, and none of them had ever surprised him like this. Something was wrong with the intelligence reports, or something was very different about these humans. Take us down to the coordinates they provided, he ordered. But keep our shields up and weapons ready. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. As they broke through the clouds, Vexhai could see a massive complex below them. It looked like a spaceport, but the design was unlike anything in his experience. The landing pad was perfectly sized for their ship, as if it had been built specifically for Zephyrian vessels. How did they know our ship's dimensions? Toxran wondered aloud. That was an excellent question. Zephyrian ship designs were closely guarded secrets. No primitive world should have known how to build a landing pad that would fit them perfectly. They landed smoothly, and Vexhai prepared for the meeting. He selected a small team, himself, Kalanis, and 2 security officers. Standard procedure for meeting with primitives. As they exited their ship, Vexhai was surprised to see the human delegation waiting for them. Dr. Chen stood at the front, flanked by several other humans in similar uniforms. What caught his attention was their complete lack of fear or awe. Every other primitive species he'd met had either run away screaming or fallen down worshipping when they saw aliens for the first time. These humans just stood there calmly, as if meeting aliens was something they did every day. Commander Vexhai, Dr. Chen said, stepping forward. Thank you for coming. I hope your journey wasn't too difficult. Not at all, Vexhai replied, though he was beginning to feel very uncomfortable. Dr. Chen, I must ask again, how did your people know we were coming? She exchanged a look with the other humans. There was something in that look, some kind of understanding that made Vexhai's skin crawl. Commander, she said gently, I think there are some things about Earth that aren't in your databases. Perhaps you'd like to see for yourself? Before he could respond, she turned and began walking toward a large building. The other humans followed, leaving the Zephyrians with little choice but to follow as well. As they walked, Vexhai noticed details that bothered him. The architecture was strange. Not primitive, but not like anything he recognized either. The materials looked advanced, but the design seemed ancient. And everywhere he looked, he saw symbols and markings that seemed almost familiar, as if he'd seen them somewhere before but couldn't remember where. Dr. Chen, he called out, where exactly are you taking us? She turned back with that same calm smile. To show you the truth about Earth, Commander. I think you'll find it very enlightening. Dr. Chen led them through corridors that made Vexhai increasingly uncomfortable. The walls were covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when he wasn't looking directly at them. The floor beneath their feet hummed with energy, and the air itself felt charged with power. This facility is quite impressive for a level 2 civilization, Kalanis whispered to him. Vexhai nodded grimly. It was more than impressive. It was impossible. The energy readings his suit was detecting were off the charts. Some of the materials in these walls registered as elements that didn't exist in nature. Dr. Chen, he said, how long has your species had this technology? She paused at a large door marked with symbols that definitely weren't human writing. That's a complicated question, Commander. How long have we had it? Only recently. How long has it existed? Much, much longer. The door slid open with a soft whisper, revealing an elevator that descended into darkness. As they rode down, Vexhai watched the depth counter with growing amazement. 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3. Finally, at nearly 5 kilometers. Below ground, the elevator stopped. "Welcome to Site Alpha," Dr. Chen said as the doors opened. Vexhai stepped out and immediately stumbled. The chamber before them was vast, so large that the far walls disappeared into shadows. But that wasn't what shocked him. It was the technology. Massive pillars of some crystalline material stretched from floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with soft light. Platforms hung in the air without any visible support, and everywhere, covering every surface, were more of those strange symbols. "This is impossible," Kalanis breathed. "Commander, my instruments are detecting gravity manipulation, quantum, field generators, and I don't even know what to call some of these readings." A human technician approached them. He was young, probably no more than 30 Earth years, but he moved among the impossible machinery like he'd been working with it his entire life. "Dr. Chen," he said, "the deep scans are complete. We've found another facility under the Pacific Ocean. This one's even larger." "Another facility?" Vexhai felt like the ground was shifting under his feet. "How many of these places exist?" "We're not sure yet," Dr. Chen admitted. "We keep finding new ones. Just last month we discovered a complex under the Antarctic ice that's the size of a small city." She led them deeper into the facility, past machines that hurt to look at directly and control panels that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. Human technicians worked everywhere, and they all moved with the same confident familiarity. "Dr. Chen," Vexhai said carefully, "your people seem very comfortable with this technology. How long have you been studying it?" "About 50 years, she replied. "Ever since we found the first site." 50 years? That was barely a moment in galactic terms. How could any species master technology this advanced in such a short time? They stopped at a massive viewing window that looked out into an even larger chamber. Inside, Vexhai could see rows upon rows of cylindrical containers, each one the size of a small building. "What are those?" he asked. "Storage units," Dr. Chen said simply. "We're still trying to figure out what's in most of them." Kalanis was running continuous scans, and her confusion was obvious. "Commander, those containers are using quantum storage technology. Each one could hold the contents of an entire world." Dr. Chen nodded. "That's what we think too. The few we've managed to open contained databases, massive amounts of information about science, technology, history, culture, more knowledge than our entire civilization had accumulated before we found this place." Vexhai was beginning to feel sick. This wasn't just advanced technology. This was technology that exceeded anything in the current galactic community. The Zephyrian Empire prided itself on being one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. But compared to what he was seeing here, they were like children playing with simple tools. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, "who built all this?" She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "We're still figuring that out, but we have some theories." She led them to another area where a team of human scientists were working around a large holographic display. The hologram showed what looked like a galaxy, but with strange patterns of light moving through it. "This is a star map," one of the scientists explained. "We found it in the central database, but it's not a map of how the galaxy looks now. It's how the galaxy looked about 75,000 years ago." 75,000 years? Vexhai's people had only achieved spaceflight 50,000 years ago. Who could have been mapping the galaxy before that? "The interesting thing," the scientist continued, "is that this map shows a massive civilization spanning the entire galaxy. Thousands of worlds, connected by some kind of transportation network we don't understand yet." Kalanis looked at the display with growing alarm. "Commander, if this is accurate, this civilization was bigger than the current Galactic Union." "What happened to them?" Vexhai asked. The humans exchanged those looks again, the ones that suggested they knew more than they were saying. "That's the mystery," Dr. Chen said. "About 75,000 years ago, they just disappeared. Every trace of them vanished from the galaxy. except for these facilities on Earth. Vex High stared at the star map. A civilization that size didn't just disappear. Civilizations that advanced didn't get wiped out by natural disasters or wars. They were too smart, too powerful, too spread out across space. "Dr. Chen," he said, "do you have any theories about what happened to them?" She was quiet for a very long time. Finally, she spoke. "Commander, can I ask you something? In all your travels, in all the worlds your people have discovered, have you ever found any evidence of truly ancient civilizations? I mean civilizations that existed before the current galactic community developed?" Vex High thought about it. The strange thing was, they hadn't. Oh, there were ruins here and there, primitive temples and basic cities, but nothing truly advanced. Nothing that suggested any species had reached high technology before the current group of spacefaring races. "No," he admitted. "That's always puzzled our scientists. It's as if all intelligent life in the galaxy started developing at roughly the same time." "Exactly," Dr. Chen said. "And doesn't that seem strange to you? In a galaxy with billions of worlds, wouldn't you expect to find at least some evidence of older civilizations?" She had a point. It was something that had bothered Zephyrian scientists for centuries. Why did all the current spacefaring races seem to have started their development around the same time? Why were there no truly ancient ruins or technologies anywhere in the galaxy? "Dr. Chen," Kalanis said suddenly, "are you suggesting that this ancient civilization had something to do with the current state of the galaxy?" "I'm not suggesting anything," Dr. Chen replied. "I'm just asking questions. But I will say this. The more we study these facilities, the more we realize that whoever built them knew things about the galaxy that we're only just beginning to understand." She led them to one final area, a chamber filled with what looked like viewing screens. But as they approached, Vex High realized they weren't screens at all. They were windows. "These show real-time views of various locations throughout the galaxy," Dr. Chen explained. "We don't know how they work, but we can observe distant worlds as if we were standing on their surfaces." Vex High watched in amazement as the windows showed him planets he recognized. Worlds in Zephyrian space, Galactic Union territories, even some unexplored systems at the galaxy's edge. "This is surveillance technology beyond anything we have," he whispered. "Yes," Dr. Chen agreed. "Whoever built these facilities was watching the entire galaxy. The question is, why? And more importantly, are they still watching?" She touched a control panel, and one of the windows zoomed in on a familiar sight. The Zephyrian homeworld. Vex High could see his own people going about their daily lives, completely unaware they were being observed. "How long have these been active?" he asked. "As far as we can tell, they never stopped working," Dr. Chen said. "For 75,000 years, these facilities have been watching and waiting. The question is, waiting for what?" Before Vex High could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Human technicians rushed to their stations, and Dr. Chen's calm expression shifted to one of excitement. "What's happening?" Vex High demanded. "Something we've been hoping for," Dr. Chen replied. "Another facility just came online. This one's under the Sahara Desert." She turned to him with that same mysterious smile. "Commander, I think you're about to learn just how much your databases are missing about Earth." The transport vehicle that took them to the Sahara facility was unlike anything in Vex High's experience. It moved without sound, without vibration, and according to his instruments, without any form of propulsion he could detect. The journey from Antarctica to Africa took less than an hour. "How is this possible?" Kalanis whispered as they flew over the desert. "My sensors show no energy signature, no drive system, nothing." Dr. Chen overheard her. "We don't fully understand it either. The vehicles were found in storage bays beneath the Antarctic facility. They respond to our commands, but we have no idea how they work." As they approached the coordinates, Vex High saw something that made his blood run cold. Rising from the desert sand was a structure the size of a mountain. It was clearly artificial, covered in the same strange symbols they'd seen before, and it pulsed with soft, rhythmic light. "When did this appear?" he asked. "About 6 hours ago," Dr. Chen replied. The entire structure just rose up from beneath the sand. Our satellites show it extends at least 10 kilometers underground. The transport landed on a platform that materialized from the structure's surface as they approached. More impossible technology, Vexhai thought grimly. Inside the new facility, they were met by Dr. James Harrison, a human archaeologist who looked exhausted but excited. "Sarah," he said to Dr. Chen, "you need to see this. We found the hibernation chambers." Hibernation chambers? Vexhai followed as Dr. Harrison led them deeper into the facility. The corridors here were different from the Antarctic site, more organic somehow, as if the walls had been grown rather than built. They entered a vast chamber filled with rows of crystalline pods. Each pod was the size of a small room, and they stretched out in perfect lines as far as the eye could see. Most were dark and empty, but a few still glowed with soft internal light. "How many are there?" Dr. Chen asked. "We've counted over 10,000 so far," Dr. Harrison replied, "and we haven't explored half the chamber yet." Vexhai approached one of the glowing pods. Through the transparent surface, he could see a figure. Inside, humanoid but somehow different from the humans around him. Taller, with more refined features and an aura of power that made his skin crawl. "Are they alive?" he asked. "We think so," Dr. Harrison said. "The pods are maintaining some kind of suspended animation. But Commander, that's not the most important discovery." He led them to a central control station where several humans were working frantically at interfaces that seemed to respond to touch, thought, and vocal commands simultaneously. "We've accessed some of the hibernation records," Dr. Harrison continued. "Commander, the beings in these pods, they're genetically identical to modern humans." "What?" Vexhai spun to face him. "That's impossible." "Not identical," Dr. Chen corrected, "but close enough to be the same species. The DNA match is 99.7%. Kalanis was running her own scans." "Commander, she's right. The life forms in these pods register as human on our biological scanners." Vexhai felt the universe shifting around him. "Dr. Chen, what exactly are you telling me?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the hibernation pods. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "We think these are our ancestors, Commander, the people who built these facilities, who mapped the galaxy 75,000 years ago, who possessed technology that makes our current civilization look primitive. We think they were human." "That's impossible," Vexhai said, but even as he spoke, he knew it wasn't. The evidence was right in front of him. The genetic scans, the technology, the timing, it all fit together in a pattern that terrified him. Dr. Harrison activated a holographic display that showed complex genetic charts. "We've been studying human DNA for decades, Commander. There are sequences in our genetic code that don't make sense. Information that appears to be technological rather than biological." "What kind of information?" Kalanis asked. "Instructions," Dr. Chen replied. "Blueprints for advanced technology, star charts, even what appears to be historical records. It's as if our ancestors encoded everything they knew into their own DNA before they went into hibernation." Vexhai stared at the sleeping figures in the pods. "Why? Why would they do this?" "We're still trying to understand that," Dr. Chen admitted. "But we have found some partial records. It seems there was some kind of catastrophe, not external but internal. They had reached a level of technology that was dangerous even to them." She activated another display, showing what looked like weapon test results. The energy readings were beyond anything Vexhai had ever seen. "They could destroy entire star systems with their weapons," she continued. "Remake matter at the quantum level. Even manipulate time itself. The records suggest they realized they had become too powerful too quickly." "So they chose to sleep?" Vexhai asked. "Not just sleep," Dr. Harrison said. "They chose to forget, to let their civilization fade away and start over. The hibernation pods were designed to wake them up gradually, over thousands of years, as their descendants rediscovered their lost knowledge." "Descendants?" Kalanis looked confused. "But how could modern humans be their descendants if they've been sleeping this whole time?" Dr. Chen smiled sadly. Not all of them went to sleep, Commander. Some stayed awake to guide the process. They scattered across the galaxy, settling on primitive worlds, breeding with local populations, slowly spreading human genetics throughout space. The implications hit Vex High like a physical blow. Are you saying that humans have been in the galaxy for 75,000 years? We're saying humans built the galaxy as you know it, Dr. Chen replied. Every spacefaring race, every advanced civilization, they all developed with human guidance, hidden guidance, subtle influence over thousands of generations. She activated another display showing genetic analysis of various species. Look at the DNA patterns, Commander. Every intelligent species in the galaxy shares certain genetic markers that can only have come from human ancestors. Vex High looked at his own genetic profile on the display. There, buried deep in his species' DNA, were the telltale markers of human influence. The Zephyrians, he whispered. We're part human? About 12%, Dr. Chen confirmed. Most spacefaring races are between 10 and 20% human. It's why you all developed intelligence at roughly the same time, why you all achieved spaceflight within a few thousand years of each other. You're saying humans guided our evolution? Kalanis asked in horror. Not guided, Dr. Chen corrected. Accelerated. Your species would have developed intelligence eventually. Human influence just helped things along. Made sure you developed in ways that would be compatible with rejoining galactic civilization when the time came. Vex High sank into a nearby chair, his mind reeling. Everything he had believed about galactic history, about his own species' achievements, was wrong. The Zephyrian Empire hadn't conquered the stars through their own brilliance. They had been led there by sleeping human ancestors. When? He asked weakly. When do they wake up? Dr. Chen looked at the hibernation pods with an expression that might have been anticipation or fear. Soon, Commander. The awakening process started about 50 years ago when we found the first facility. Each new discovery, each piece of technology we've mastered sends signals to the other facilities. How many more facilities are there? Vex High asked. We don't know, Dr. Harrison admitted. Our estimates suggest there could be hundreds, maybe thousands, hidden all over Earth. And Commander, Earth isn't the only world with these facilities. What do you mean? Dr. Chen activated a star map that showed the entire galaxy. Dozens of points were marked in red, scattered across thousands of light years. These are the locations of confirmed human facilities, she said. We've been in contact with some of them through the quantum communication network. Mars has 3 facilities. Europa has one. There's a massive complex in the Alpha Centauri system. And they're all waking up? Kalanis asked. They're all connected, Dr. Chen replied. When one awakens, it sends signals to the others. It's a cascading effect that was built into the system from the beginning. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. The hibernation pods around them began glowing brighter, and Vex High could see movement inside several of them. What's happening? He demanded. Dr. Chen's face was pale. They're waking up. After 75,000 years, they're finally waking up. As they watched, one of the pods began to open with a soft hiss of escaping gases. Inside, the figure began to stir. Commander, Kalanis whispered. What do we do? Vex High stared at the opening pod, knowing that everything in the galaxy was about to change forever. I don't know, he admitted. I honestly don't know. The figure that emerged from the hibernation pod was tall, perhaps 7 feet in height, with features that were unmistakably human, but somehow more refined. His skin had a slight luminescence, and his eyes held a depth that suggested vast intelligence and experience. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that made the air itself seem to vibrate. Hello, Sarah, he said to Dr. Chen, as if he had seen her yesterday, rather than sleeping for 75 millennia. I trust the awakening protocol has proceeded smoothly. Dr. Chen bowed her head respectfully. Yes, Elder Marcus. All facilities are coming online as planned. Elder Marcus? Vexhai realized that Dr. Chen had been in contact with these beings before. The humans hadn't just discovered this technology, they had been working with its creators all along. Kirei. Ancient human turned his gaze to Vexhai, and the Zephyrian commander felt as if his thoughts were being read like an open book. "Commander Vexhai of the Zephyrian Empire," Marcus said with a slight smile. "Welcome to Earth. I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary." "Deception?" Vexhai found his voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. "The fiction that—" "This was first contact," Marcus explained. "The pretense that humanity was a primitive, newly discovered species. We needed to see how the galaxy had developed in our absence. More pods were opening around them, and other ancient humans were emerging. Each one moved with the same fluid grace, the same aura of contained power. As they awakened, they were greeted by modern humans who clearly knew them well." "How long?" Vexhai asked. "How long have you been awake?" "Some of us never slept," Marcus replied. "Others have been awakening gradually for the past century. The process was designed to be slow, careful. We needed to understand what our children had become." "Children?" Kalana stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "All of you," Marcus said gently. "Every intelligent species in the galaxy carries our genetic signature. You are all our descendants, in one way or another." He gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the air showing the complex genetic relationships between dozens of species. The Zephyrians, the Altarians, the Crystalline Collective, the Gas Dancers of Vega, all of you developed from genetic templates we provided over the millennia. We guided your evolution not to control you, but to ensure you would be ready when we returned." "Ready for what?" Vexhai demanded. Marcus's expression grew serious. "For the real threat, Commander. The reason we went to sleep in the first place." The chamber around them began to change, walls becoming transparent to reveal the vast machinery beyond. Vexhai could see that the entire facility was much larger than he had imagined. It extended for kilometers in every direction, filled with technology that hummed with barely contained power. 75,000 years ago, Marcus began. Humanity had reached the pinnacle of technological development. We could manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level, travel instantly between stars, even peer into alternate dimensions. But our greatest achievement was also our greatest mistake. Another holographic display showed what looked like a tear in space itself, bleeding darkness into the surrounding area. "We opened a gateway to another reality," Marcus continued. "A dimension where the laws of physics were different, where entities existed that defied our understanding of life itself. These beings, we called them the Void Lords, saw our universe as a source of energy to be consumed." "What happened?" Dr. Chen asked, though Vexhai suspected she already knew the answer. "War," Marcus said simply. "A war that lasted 1,000 years and nearly destroyed both dimensions. We won barely, but the cost was enormous. Entire star systems were destroyed. Whole species were wiped out, and we realized that our technology had become too dangerous to wield." He gestured to the hibernation pods around them. "So we chose to sleep, to let our direct influence fade while we prepared for the Void Lord's eventual return. Because they will return, Commander. The gateway we opened cannot be permanently sealed." Vexhai felt ice forming in his veins. "When?" "Soon," Marcus replied. "Our long-range sensors have detected disturbances at the galaxy's edge. The seals are weakening." Suddenly, Vexhai understood everything. "That's why you guided our development. You needed an army." "Not an army," Marcus corrected. "A family. We learned from our first war that technology alone isn't enough to defeat the Void Lords. They feed on negative emotions, fear, hatred, despair. A unified galaxy fighting together as one people has a chance. A divided galaxy, full of competing empires and ancient grudges, would fall within months." Kalanis was studying the data displays with growing alarm. "Commander, these energy readings, if this threat is real, it's beyond anything our current military forces could handle. Which is why we've been preparing," Dr. Chen said. Every piece of technology we've shared with Earth over the past 50 years, every scientific breakthrough we've guided, it's all been building toward this moment. Marcus nodded. The awakening was timed to coincide with the return of the void. Lords, humanity will reclaim its place as the galaxy's protectors, but we cannot do it alone. We need all of our children to stand with us. And if we refuse? Vex High asked. Marcus looked genuinely sad. Then the galaxy dies, Commander. The Void Lords don't negotiate. They don't show mercy and they don't leave survivors. They consume entire dimensions, leaving nothing but empty space behind. The chamber filled with activity, as more ancient humans awakened and began activating dormant systems. Vex High watched massive displays come online showing real-time views of the galaxy's edge where strange distortions were already visible. How much time do we have? He asked. Months, perhaps a year, Marcus replied. The Void Lords move slowly at first, testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses, but once they commit to an invasion, they move with terrifying speed. Dr. Chen approached them with a datapad. Elder Marcus, we're receiving reports from facilities throughout the galaxy. The Centauri complex is fully online. Mars is at 80%. And the Europa station is beginning preliminary wake-up sequences. Excellent, Marcus said. And our allies? The Altarian High Council has agreed to emergency talks, Dr. Chen reported. The Crystalline Collective is concerned but willing to listen. The gas dancers are still deciding. Vex High realized they were talking about a galaxy-wide military alliance. You're asking every species to unite under human leadership? Not under human leadership, Marcus corrected. Under unified leadership. We propose a true galactic confederation, with representatives from every species. Humanity will provide the technology and strategic guidance, but the decisions will be made together. And the alternative? Marcus gestured to a display showing simulations of the Void Lord's advance. Entire solar systems simply vanished as the dark entities passed through them. Extinction, Commander. Not just for your species or mine, but for all life in this galaxy. Kalanis was studying the technological displays with obvious fascination. Sir, the weapon systems they're showing us, they could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. Yes, Marcus agreed. But the Void Lords have weapons that could destroy entire star systems. This will not be a war of superior firepower. It will be a war of unity versus division, hope versus despair. Vex High made his decision. It wasn't really a choice at all. What do you need from the Zephyrian Empire? He asked. Marcus smiled, and for the first time Vex High could see the family resemblance between him and Dr. Chen. Your ships, your people, and your trust, Marcus replied. We have a galaxy to save. As if responding to his words, more hibernation. Pods began opening throughout the vast chamber. Ancient humans were awakening by the dozens, each one bringing knowledge and power that had been sleeping for 75,000 years. The greatest civilization in galactic history was returning to face its greatest challenge. And Vex High found himself wondering if even that would be enough. 6 months later, Vex High stood on the bridge of his ship and marveled at how much the galaxy had changed. Through the main view screen, he could see the massive construction yards orbiting Earth, where ships unlike anything ever imagined were taking shape. The vessels were beautiful and terrible, sleek forms that seemed to bend light around them, powered by technologies that made space itself their ally. Commander, Kalanis reported from her station, the human fleet is ready to depart. Vex High nodded. The past months had been a whirlwind of revelation, preparation, and transformation. The galactic community had reacted to the truth about humanity with shock, fear, and ultimately acceptance. When faced with extinction, even the proudest species could swallow their pride. The Zephyrian Empire had been among the first to join the new Galactic Defense Alliance. Their ships now bore human technology upgrades. Their crews had been trained in tactics developed over millennia, and their weapons could channel energies that had once been the stuff of legend. Status report from the other fleets? Vex High asked. The Altarian battle group is in position at coordinate 77 Alpha, Kalanis replied. The Crystalline Collective has deployed their living ships at the perimeter, Even the gas dancers have committed their weather control vessels. It was unprecedented. For the first time in recorded galactic history, every major species was working together under unified command. The ancient rivalries and territorial disputes that had defined interstellar politics for thousands of years had been set aside in the face of existential threat. A communication request came through from the human flagship. Vex-High accepted it, and Elder Marcus appeared on the screen. The ancient human looked exactly as he had 6 months ago, but now he wore armor that seemed to be made of living starlight. "Commander Vex-High," Marcus said, "are your forces ready?" "As ready as we can be," Vex-High replied, "though I still have trouble believing we're about to fight beings from another dimension." Marcus's expression was grim. "Believe it, Commander. Our long-range sensors have detected the first scout formations approaching the galaxy's edge. The Void Lords are testing our defenses." Through the view screen, Vex-High could see the human fleet beginning to move. Each ship was a work of art, incorporating design principles that made them seem almost alive. The flagship, a massive vessel called the Starfire, led the formation with Marcus aboard. "All fleets, this is Alliance Command," came the voice of Dr. Chen, now serving as the military coordinator for the entire Alliance. "Enemy contacts detected at Grid 779. All units proceed to intercept positions." Vex-High felt the familiar sensation of his ship entering hyperspace, but it was different now. The human technology made the transition smooth as silk, and the journey that would have taken days now took minutes. When they emerged at the galaxy's edge, Vex-High got his first look at the enemy. The Void Lord's scouts were unlike anything he could have imagined. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were tears in reality itself, dark wounds in space that hurt to look at directly. They moved without any visible propulsion, and his sensors couldn't get a solid reading on them. "All units, maintain formation." Dr. Chen's voice came over the communications. "Remember, these are just scouts. Do not engage unless fired upon." But the scouts had no intention of avoiding battle. As the Allied fleet approached, the dark shapes began to pulse with malevolent energy. Suddenly, beams of pure darkness lanced out toward the nearest ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Vex-High shouted, but his ship had already begun moving, guided by human defensive systems that reacted faster than thought. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic military history. The human ships moved like dancers, their weapons, creating cascades of light that seemed to heal the wounds the Void Lords had torn in space. The Allied fleet fought with coordinated precision that would have been impossible without months of joint training. Vex-High watched in amazement as a crystalline collective ship literally sang its enemies to death, using harmonic frequencies to destabilize the Void Lord's dimensional anchors. Nearby, a gas dancer vessel wrapped a scout in artificial storm clouds that somehow prevented it from existing properly in normal space. "Commander," Kalanis called out, "the enemy formation is breaking apart. They're retreating." But Marcus's voice came over the communication channel with urgent warning. "Do not pursue. This was just a probe. They've learned what they wanted to know about our capabilities." As the surviving Void Lord scouts disappeared into whatever dimension they had come from, the Allied fleet regrouped. The victory was complete, but nobody was celebrating. "How did we do?" Vex-High asked when Marcus's image appeared on his screen again. "Better than expected," the ancient human admitted. "But this was nothing compared to what's coming. The real invasion force will be 1,000 times larger." Over the following weeks, reports came in from across the galaxy. More scout attacks, each one larger than the last. The Void Lords were testing different defensive positions, different fleet compositions, different tactical approaches. They were learning. But so was the Alliance. Each battle brought new insights, new ways to combine different species' abilities into devastating combo attacks. The humans provided the strategic framework, but every species contributed something unique to the fight. The turning point came when the Alliance discovered that the Void Lords had a weakness. They drew their power from negative emotions, but they were also vulnerable to positive ones. Love, hope, unity, determination. These emotions could actually damage the dimensional invaders. "It's not just about weapons," Marcus explained too. the assembled fleet commanders. Every person in this alliance who refuses to give in to despair is a weapon against them. Every act of cooperation between our species weakens their hold on our reality. The final battle came sooner than expected. The Void Lord's main invasion force appeared simultaneously at dozens of points around the galaxy's edge, a coordinated assault designed to spread the Alliance forces too thin to mount an effective defense. But the humans had prepared for this. Hidden facilities throughout the galaxy came online, revealing defensive networks that had been sleeping for 75,000 years. Ancient weapons platforms powered by the combined will of billions of allied citizens created barriers of pure energy around inhabited worlds. Vex High found himself commanding a mixed fleet of Zephyrian, human, and Altarian vessels in the defense of the Centauri system. As the dark shapes of the Void Lords emerged from their dimensional tiers, he felt something he had never experienced before: absolute unity with his allies. Every ship in the fleet moved as one, every weapon fired in perfect coordination, and as they fought, Vex High could feel the determination and hope of billions of people across the galaxy, lending strength to their cause. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, the Void Lord's invasion force was destroyed, their dimensional gateways sealed, and their threat ended for another 75,000 years. In the aftermath, as the Alliance fleets returned to their homeworlds, Vex High found himself once again standing before Elder Marcus. But this time they met as equals, brothers in arms who had saved the galaxy together. "What happens now?" Vex High asked. Marcus smiled. "Now we build something better than what came before, a true galactic civilization, united not by conquest but by choice. Our children will grow up knowing they are part of something larger than their individual worlds or species. And humanity? Will you reclaim your role as the galaxy's rulers?" "We were never rulers, Commander," Marcus replied. "We were guardians, and now that duty belongs to all of us." Looking out at the stars, Vex High realized that the galaxy would never be the same. The ancient divisions between species had been burned away in the fire of shared struggle. What emerged was something new, a true galactic family, united by bonds stronger than blood or genetics. Humanity had reclaimed its legacy, but in doing so, it had given that legacy to everyone. The children had become the inheritors, and the inheritors had become the protectors of all life in the galaxy. As his ship turned toward home, Vex High smiled. The future, for the first time in his life, looked brighter than the past.